Anchor today reporting two nearby explosions as President Trump says he is still pursuing a deal with Iran, despite his administration admitting that the negotiations have been anything but easy.
Number one, the Iranians are extraordinarily difficult people. Number two, they have a fractured system. Our job is to navigate through that and get the best outcome for the American people, but for the President of the United States as well. And I do think that where we will ultimately land, it's going to be messy and it's going to take some time to get there.
Our senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy reports live from the White House. Doesn't sound like a lot of progress, Peter.
Well, depends on who you ask, John. And we hear a lot about stuff in Iran getting blown up. We don't hear a ton about people in Iran getting blown up until now.
We will have completed something in a short period of time. We'll knock the hell out of them. Knock it out. I'd rather make a deal because I don't want to kill people. I do not want to kill people.
And he is disputing reports the U.S. has cleaned out precision surface-to-surface missiles with this Truth Social post. The U.S. has massive amounts of munitions, especially of certain types. Additionally, large amounts are being manufactured and shipped to the U.S. as needed. Defense companies are building the largest number of plants and factories in our country's history. The leakers of these treasonous statements are being hunted down. Long-term jail sentences will be sought. In a separate post, he also just said he thinks Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. And now, for the first time, the Iranians on their side of the table are offering up specifics about a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Map the transit routes, the entering and exiting of maritime traffic, and those bilateral agreements with Oman. This progress is on the verge of being finalized.
The Iranian wish list that they rattled off there, where they talk about the map, transit routes, and the entering and exiting of maritime traffic, that obviously did not include nuclear anything, but President Trump says that doesn't mean they aren't talking about nuclear. He says, of course they are. That's what this is all about. John.
All right, we'll see where all this goes. Peter Doocy with the update from the White House. Peter, thank you.
Meanwhile, the United Nations now calling out the Iranian regime for its, quote, deeply troubling executions. The fresh criticism coming after Iran executed at least 56 people on national security charges since the start of the war. Dozens more reportedly await the same fate. Danny Danon is here, Israeli ambassador to the UN. It's just sickening to hear about this. Just first get your thoughts on that, Ambassador.
That's horrible. You know, our prayers with the Iranian people. You know, dozens of people were already executed, Sandra. And when you look at the way the trials took place, 2 hours for a death penalty, basically. And they killed the opposition, and there are 100 more awaiting a death. I think it should be condemned. And you don't hear the international community. Where is the UN condemnation, the Security Council? Everybody is quiet. Basically, when it comes to Iran, they let them do whatever they want. But I tell the Iranian people, we are with you, we are praying for you, and hopefully sooner than later there will be a new regime that will not deal with this population the way they are doing.
I don't know what it's going to take to do that, because there doesn't seem any indication at this point that the IRGC is about to fall. But this really does tell you who this regime is. We had a guest on yesterday who quipped that being a moderate Iranian politician is going to the public execution but not attending the after party.
That's sickening. And I speak with people who got out from Iran. You know, they live in fear. They are afraid for their life. And, you know, a lot of people were wounded during the demonstrations. And this regime should not be in power, period. I hope it will happen sooner than we expect. But meanwhile, we want the international community to take action, to condemn. You know, in September, you're going to have the General Assembly. All the leaders will come to the UN. The Iranian leader will also come to New York City. He shouldn't be welcomed here. He should be condemned for this behavior.
Yeah. I mean, which brings us to the point now in this war. Can we ever take Iran at its word? I had the former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Fox and Friends earlier this morning, and he said this.
There is zero evidence that the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who is essentially running Iran today, and it's frankly been running Iran for the last 25 years. There's no reason to believe they've turned over a new leaf, that they all of a sudden now want Israel to exist and are okay with the United States. So a deal that gets signed is likely to be just a paper tiger, and that's what we need to make sure we understand.
So what does that mean for the future of this war?
I agree with Secretary Pompeo. We have to be very careful with the Iranians. I remember, Sandra, in 2018, we got out from Tehran, the archive, and we saw what they did when they negotiated with President Obama. They were lying from the beginning. And I think today we have to be very careful about that. We have to verify everything. And you have to apply strength and power when you negotiate with them and make sure you have that power, because otherwise they will continue with their nuclear ambitions, with harassing the people in Iran. And look what happened in the last few weeks. They attacked 12 countries in the region. Not Israel, by the way, because they know if they will attack us, it will be painful for them. But they attacked 12 neighboring countries in the region.
Well, let me come back to something you said a moment ago, Mr. Ambassador, and that is the lack of outrage for what Iran is doing in terms of these public executions in the UN. Also, I remember last year, when the conflict, in 2 years, I guess, conflict was raging between Israel and Hamas on college campuses across the country. We saw all of these anti-Israel protests. We haven't seen one person on a college campus protesting what Iran is doing. We have Mamdani threatening to arrest Netanyahu, yet he's not threatening to arrest Pezeshkian if he touches down in New York. There seems to be a real double standard here.
Absolutely. That's hypocrisy. It's dangerous. And we have seen it not only in the US, also European countries. You know, they don't condemn Iran. They actually try to bypass the sanctions to make more money. But you know what? It will come back to them. Because Iran is not a threat only to Israel or the US. They are saying death to America, death to Israel, but they don't like the Europeans. They don't like the moderate Muslims. They feel superior. That's why they are so dangerous. And that's why we have to be strong when we negotiate them and strong when we fight them.
I want to ask you, too, about just the relationship as it is in this moment of the United States and Israel, President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. J.D. Vance, the vice president, was on with Laura Ingraham last night, and he responded to reports that Netanyahu confronted him. He said it didn't happen. Listen.
Axios was reporting that Benjamin Netanyahu confronted you recently at Blair House over the war. What can you tell us?
He didn't confront me. We had a nice and frank conversation. I mean, look, as I've said repeatedly, Laura, Israel has been a great partner. They're an ally of the United States of America. But like France or Britain or any other ally of the United States of America, we sometimes have differences of opinion.
What can you add to that?
We have a great relationship. Prime Minister Netanyahu had his 8th visit meeting President Trump, and also with the Vice President. We have an ongoing dialogue. We speak about the issues, and we happen to have the same enemies. So there is no issues, no confrontation. It's a bond, it's an alliance, and we are proud of it.
I want to ask you a quick question just before we go, and that is the deal that the President was touting between Israel and Hamas seems to be kind of falling apart at the moment. You were talking to us off camera, about Hamas's position on disarmament. What is it?
So we respect the President agreement, and we actually moving ahead with that. But now when Hamas must disarm, they came up with a new idea. They said, okay, we're going to disarm, we're going to put our weapons in a warehouse in Gaza, and we're going to have the keys for that warehouse. That's not disarmament. Disarmament means that the weapon is out of Gaza completely. Once it will happen, we will pull out of Gaza and we can build a new future for Gaza. But we will not play games with Hamas. We learned the lesson from October 7th. Hamas will not have the capability